Greetings, Deep Dive Podcast listeners. This is your boy, Sam Oram, coming at you with another episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. Guys, I'm so excited about our guest tonight. I couldn't wait. I've been on tiptoe anticipation, waiting on this particular guest. And I just tell you, I'm so excited. But before I even get into that, I'm going to have to hold him from you just a few minutes longer. But I do want to make sure that I always like to thank all of our listeners from around the world. You guys have been incredible. You know, the emails you've sent in, all this, the logging into the Facebook page and all of these things. I'm so appreciative of that. And I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge you. I continue to ask that you'll like, subscribe, download, and share the podcast. As you know, we are not only an entertainment podcast, but we're also talking about empowerment. So we want to expand our net as large as we can around the world to continue to empower people, to share this message of empowerment, but also to throw in some entertainment here and there. So I certainly want to thank you all for following us. You've been very loyal. Season 2, the numbers have been incredible, which means you guys are engaged, and that makes me very happy. So thank you so very much. I know that you've been looking forward to this particular guest tonight. I mentioned last week that we would have someone special, but I didn't want to tell everybody last week. But now is the time for you guys to really hear from a gentleman that I have so much respect for. You know, this is a guy, not only is he everything to everybody, but to me personally, he is a brother. He is multi-faceted individual, and this has always intrigued me. He's very multifaceted. There's about 4 different layers or tiers to this guy. First of all, most of you know him as a former NFL football star. He actually played for the San Diego Chargers, the Detroit Lions, the Washington Redskins, where they're the Commanders now, and the Denver Broncos. So he had a very extensive NFL career. Did a great job as a professional NFL player, but then also he was a coach. You know, he actually coached Faith Lutheran High School. He took them to their first state championship, which is incredible. First championship ever in the history of that school, in over 34-year history of that school. So that was impressive. As if that wasn't enough, he actually had 6 out of 7 years as being a coach. He was a championship level coach. So that tells you not only is he was an extraordinary player, but also the mind in terms of being an extraordinary coach. He was a graduate of Cimarron Memorial High School, where his jersey was retired. And also he went to Fresno State. He received a sociology degree. This guy has a lot of degrees. He's very special. A lot of intellect here. He's also 2-time all-conference defensive back. So his football career and coaching career is second to none. It is absolutely impeccable. But it doesn't stop there, guys. This guy is actually a minister. You know, aside from all the athletics and all the things that you've heard in terms of his football acumen, he's actually a minister. He has been a minister for over a decade, and he's an ordained minister now. He's touched so many lives with his ministry, and I'm impressed with what he has done with that. But that's not all. That's just 2 of the 4 facets that I've noticed from this gentleman. He is also a life coach, a certified life coach is that. And, you know, for me, that's very personal because, as you all know, I'm big on empowerment. I'm big on identifying your purpose, things of that nature. Well, this guy is an extraordinary life coach. He is an entrepreneur. He's an international speaker, a corporate consultant, a youth advisor, and even an author. And you're going to hear a little bit about that before we close out. But I think the 4th component that he takes the most pride in is he's actually a family man. He's a family man. His wife and his 2 kids, that's the love of his life. Everything that he's doing in honor of his family. He's been married, I think, 16 years. As a matter of fact, he just had an anniversary. So if I'm not mistaken, it's 17 years now. He'll correct me if I'm wrong, but he is a family man. He is a true champion. Guys, I can go on and on about this brother because he has done so much for so many people. And for me personally, you know, this is one of the people that I respect. You know, some of the things that he shares with me, it is second level. Some of the things that he has shared with people that are a part of my network, it has been special to them. So I'm excited to bring to the Deep Dive Podcast audience a guy that we love, we have respect for. You hear the accolades, and I just want to shut up so that you can get an opportunity to hear from him, and that's none other than my brother, Vernon Fox. Vernon, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing well, Sam, man. How are you? It's great to connect with you, man. I'm a fan of the Deep Dive podcast, and so I'm so privileged and honored to be here sharing with you today.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. I know that you have been supporting the Deep Dive podcast. You've been supporting our spheres of influence. And, that means a lot to us because you have so much to offer. I shared a lot about your bio and all of these other things that you're doing. And in terms of helping and empowering people from every age group, from the youth with the high school and, just your speaking and coaching engagements and, all the way up to, your ministry and just everything, man. How did you ever get so diverse and motivated to do so many things for so many people?
You know what? I wish I could tell you. I'm not sure. I saw myself operating in this capacity. I knew that there were some things that I was passionate about, but never in a million years thought that I would have the opportunity to have the level of influence and impact that I have and touch the amount of lives that God has allowed me to do so. And I think it all started with just being an athlete. There's a different type of mindset that's developed when you are an athlete and you learn how to be versatile. You
Mm-hmm.
learn how to rebound and operate at a high capacity at all times and really just be everything for all people. And I think that was kind of just the beginning of just tapping into who I was. And once I realized what was inside of me and just kind of becoming more I guess, associated with what my purpose was and what my call was and what my true identity was, helping people is right in line with everything that I do. And so, I just try to find ways of doing that. So if there's a way that I can help somebody, usually I'm gonna plug myself into that. And, it just looks like I'm doing probably more than what I feel like I'm doing. Cause at the core and crux of it, I'm really just about helping and being a blessing to people.
Yeah, man. I notice a lot of times you'll just spontaneously share just through your Instagram or any of your social media platforms, just those empowerment moments or inspirational moments of thought. So you're always giving, and you're spot on with what people need. It seems like and I've heard this from different people, by the way. It's like he was talking to me. When he said this, he was talking to me. And so what you're doing is really touching a lot of people, and I know that's at the core of who you are. But tell us a little bit of little something about you that we don't know, something that may be outside of the realm of just your ministry and your athletic career. Tell us a little bit something about you that we don't know.
I think the thing that most people would not be abreast to knowing is that I consider myself like a introverted extrovert, and what I mean by that is really at the core of who I am. I'm
Mm-hmm.
really not a real talkative person. Obviously, I do a lot of talking, like you said. I spend a lot of time on social media. I'll pop in on a live and I'll talk for 45 minutes, just kind of sharing my heart and prayerfully, helping somebody with whatever, I may have been going through at that time or day. And I mean, I've talked on stages in front of thousands of people. And the truth of the matter is that I've always been really just kind of like a closed in person. I was an only child till I was roughly, I think, 12 and a half years old. So I was used to being by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I had that type of mindset and mentality. I've always kind of been a loner. So never had a problem being by myself, being isolated. And I was the kind of person that if I don't have to talk, I really don't. When I get on a plane, I laugh and I joke about this. When I get on the plane, like immediately, if I'm sitting in economy, I'll put on like headphones or something, and it's not even anything playing on there. I just don't want to talk. Like I don't want the other person. I don't want to have a conversation with the other person, and it like gives me anxiety if I'm like in the elevator, I'm stuck with somebody, or
Right.
I'm in the back of the Uber and the driver keeps talking to me. Like I don't know what it is. So most people wouldn't know that about me, because when you see me coach, if you see me as an athlete, I'm real exuberant, play with a lot of emotion, coach with a lot of emotion. And when I talk, or I'm giving a speech or I'm sharing or preaching a sermon, I do that with a lot of passion and emotion. And so people would not believe that I'm really introverted. So that's something that, not a lot of people are abreast to.
Right, right. Interestingly enough, I can relate to that because I'm very similar in nature. I really don't talk to people I don't know. I speak when I have to speak, but if I don't have to speak, I'm not a big telephone guy. People know that about me, so I can relate to that. But because I know you, I'm going to tell the audience something about you that most people don't know. Don't worry, it's not bad. Is that this guy you're a very funny guy. You are you are a hilarious guy. I've seen some clips of you just doing some crazy and funny stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, I know this not Vernon dancing and just but you're a very funny guy, fun loving guy, and I like that about you because that balance is important. Just being able to share and relate to everybody, regardless of where they are on that spectrum. It's very empowering, and I like that about you, man. And I really appreciate and respect that about you. With all the things that you do, though, what's what motivates you and drive you to just keep pushing and keep doing all of these things and just working from eight to faint? What
Yeah.
motivates you so much?
I think for myself, when I look at the core of who I am and kind of why I do what I do, it really all reverts back to my faith first,
Hmm.
and then my family. You mentioned it earlier. I remember when I played, there was this little sticker thing that I would keep on my chest. Literally, I put it on my chest, and kind of the idea behind it was that it was in the shape of a heart. And I just came across it one day. I was in the training room, the athletic training room, and they had this little sticker. And I think it was like something that you wrapped around your foot or something to keep you from getting a blister.
Hmm.
But the minute I saw it, it was in the shape of a heart. I wrote my family members' names on there, and I would always stick that on my chest beneath my pads when I played. And it was just a reminder to me when I was putting that stuff on, when I was strapping it on, that I was doing what I was doing for something greater than myself. I just
Hmm.
believe in always having a motive that's bigger than you. I like to refer to it as an inspired motive. So it's a combination of your inspiration and your motivation. And that
Hmm.
inspired motive for me has always been, my faith in keeping God first and making sure that I'm, operating in the highest capacity of who he designed and created me to be, and maximizing my potential as a person, and then just doing it for my family, just remembering that what I do is for a greater purpose than myself. Because I think if you don't have a big enough why or inspired motive, it's easy to quit, it's easy to give up, it's easy to get tired and fatigued. And when the trials of life hit, you really don't have anything to pull from. But if it's bigger than you, if it's greater than, outside of that circle of just, self, I think it drives you and keeps you going.
Yeah, man, that's powerful. That's one of those nuggets. I hope you guys are taking notes. If not, go back and listen to this podcast again because, again, that's one of the things that he subtly dropped, but it's very important for you to understand your why and then make sure that your why is big enough. I like to tell people if your why don't make you cry, it ain't big enough, right? So,
Like that.
yeah, so you have to push forward with that and understand why you're doing what you're doing. And I appreciate you sharing your motivation, in terms of your success. But let me ask you, I know that tonight's topic is called new growth. And when you look at that topic on the surface, I know I've asked myself, and a couple of people asked me, what is it that he's referring to when he talks about new growth? And I'm just like, you got to wait to the podcast to find out. So, I just wanted, if you didn't mind, just kind of sharing from your perspective, what is the premise behind new growth, and what does that mean?
For me, it's been a really personal experience as of late. Just when you talk about the whole concept and idea of new growth, and I'll share a couple of different illustrations so that you can kind of understand. So maybe about, I guess about 7 years ago now, my grandfather passed away. And when
Hmm.
my grandfather passed away, they bring all these flowers and plants and all of this stuff, people give, and they give those types of gifts, or they give it to the family.
Right.
And my aunt, which was my grandfather's daughter, she gave us a plant that we took home. And this plant was, first off, we don't have a green thumb in our house. Like
Right.
my wife doesn't too much care for flowers. Like I know that about her. Like she's just, she'll be happy if you give her some flowers or whatever, but I just know that's not her thing. Like,
Right.
I can get her, chocolate and balloons and she'll love that, but flowers has not always been her thing. So we don't have a lot of live plants around the house. At least we do now, but back then we didn't. And they gave us this plant and we put the plant in the house and she just started watering it and caring for it. And it just became really personal to her, this plant. And so the plant sprouted out of control. Like, I mean, it was too big for the casing it was in. Like we had to move it from a different spot in the house numerous times.
Right.
And we just saw this plant like blossoming and growing. And for whatever reason here, like maybe about a year or so ago, this plant started dying. And she was really it was sentimental to her, and she really wanted to do what we could to try and get this plant to be revived. And so I started looking into it. I was doing some research. I was trying to figure out what needed to be done. So I went to the nursery and I asked them, I'm like, okay, what can I do? I brought the plant.
Right.
And they gave me some potting soil. They gave me some plant food. They gave me a new pot, like all this stuff. So I'm trying to be, Mr. Saver Man. So I go get this plant and man, I hate to admit it, but I put the plant in the trunk of the car while I was driving around. So when I get home, like this plant look like 10 times worse than it looked before. The minute she sees it, like she goes into tears, like it's just, lights out. And I felt horrible. Wow. So I'm like trying to do whatever I can, I'm immediately trying to do, water it, do stuff to it, all kind of stuff, man. I'm trying everything. I'm looking on Google. So I repot this plant, I put all of the new soil in it, everything. And it's just, it's looking pitiful. And so she said, well, I think we need to cut away a lot of this dead stuff. So we start, kind of cutting it away and pruning it or whatnot. I plant it. I start putting the plant food and stuff in it. I'm caring for it for about 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm just really not seeing progress. And I got really discouraged. I was like, maybe this just ain't me. And in my head, I started thinking like, maybe it's just time to throw the plant away. Maybe God is just showing us like, some things die. It's time to move on to the new. I'm trying to make up all these excuses. And so I told her, I said, listen, I'm gonna just let go of, my commitment to doing this because I'm just not seeing any progress. And she was like, good, I was waiting on you too because I want to care for it. So she goes back to, watering it and doing what she knows to do. Make a long story short, this plant is like thriving again. Like it's bigger and better than it ever was. And so like we just start kind of talking and we're just like, man, that told a lot. That whole experience was a lot for us. And for me, what I pulled from it and what, she pulled from it was that first and foremost, like when it's time for new things to grow, like you got to cut the old, you got to cut some things out of your life. You have to cut some people out of your life. Unfortunately, at times, there are things that have to be pruned away. And what feels like in moments when there is no progress being made, beneath the surface, something is happening, something is taking place, and that new growth begins to sprout through. But you got to be consistent in cultivating and caring for that thing. If it had been up to me, I would have just thrown in the towel, we would toss the plant. But she just stayed consistent with it, and we did give it a new foundation. That's the one part I can say that I was a part of. I did give it a new foundation. I did start it on a new journey, and she just kept cultivating it, man. And that whole idea of just seeing new growth was just amazing. And, I just started to see it in other ways. People that know me know I've never had this much hair in my life. And I started growing my hair during the quarantine and I just didn't cut it. And it was no reason, like I didn't have a plan, like it was not a long-term thing. But what I started to realize was that as I was experiencing new growth, man, it was like healing for me because I was seeing something unhindered, in the world we live in where so many things are hindered or kind of held back. And sometimes we don't see progress the way that we want. Like you can be discouraged. And I saw something uninhibited growing, like just growing. Just healthy, growing. At 43 almost, I didn't know I could even grow hair like this, you know what I mean? So I'm just, and again, there is no rhyme or reason to it. It probably ain't a long-term thing. It'll probably be a whole nother experience for me when I cut it and I can start over and, feel what that feels like and maybe have some spiritual revelation in that as well. But I've just been able to, this whole concept of new growth, man, has just been huge in my life in this season.
Wow, yeah, that's deep, man. The underlying message is deep. Again, I hope everybody is taking notes or whatever, because that underlying message is important to be able to, sometimes you gotta kind of, get some things out of your life in order to have that new thing come into your life. I remember one of my mentors told me a long time ago, and he used this as a metaphor, but if you want new clothes in your closet, throw out the old ones. So us country boys, we have a way of just saying things and just making these little quips about different things. We got a saying for everything. So but yeah, that message is powerful though. In terms of being able to create. To create means to start something anew. And
Yeah.
that's what we're talking about. We always talk about that in terms of creating your future is to start something new. And then a lot of times, like you said, you just have to get rid of some of the old things, whether that's relationships, friendships, ideologies, whatever it may be. I tell people a lot of times that, even with your friendships, if you can't change your friends, change your friends. And if you understand that, you want a lot of people to come along this journey with you. However, a lot of people are stuck in their own ways and they don't want to develop that new growth. They don't want to grow. They don't want to come outside of their comfort zone. They want to live in that bubble. Well, if you can't change those friends, then change your friends. The notion of, rubbing elbows with the rich is not literally rubbing elbows with the rich. It is being with a group of people who have a vision or an ideology that's different and very expansive. They think differently. They think outside of the box. And so when you talk about new growth, this is what I get from it, in terms of what you have to do. And hopefully everybody is understanding that as well. You have so much knowledge and so many things that you've been able to do in so many various ways that you've been empowered, have been empowering people. Who actually instilled some of these things into you? Was it any mentors or family members, or, how did you elevate yourself and develop into the person that you are?
I believe a lot of it, man, comes from, just my upbringing. My parents, I was blessed to have both parents in the home when I was a young man. My father is very quiet man, but he's
Hmm.
a very wise man. And, he really was someone that did not talk a whole lot, but when he did, he just said what was important and you got it. Cause you knew when he
Right.
was talking, it was something that was of value. And I'll never forget, I used to cut his hair. And when I would cut his hair, it'd be moments where it'd just be me and him and,
Hmm.
not a whole lot of talking because both of us are kind of the same. We
Right.
just give you just a little bit here and there. And he would drop these nuggets on me, man. And he would say things that to this day, like I still carry with me. And I think he was the example of what an amazing, committed husband and father looked like. And that's what I wanted to pattern myself after. And I saw him just selflessly give of himself, live his
Hmm.
life in such a way that he always put other people that he cared about first. And I think a lot of that rubbed off on me. My foundation was just very strong. My mother was, the same, just someone that really cared about people and was always just giving up herself. And at the end of the day, I think, both for my sister and I, that's kind of just, the type of mindset and perspective that we were exposed to. And so it's kind of what, made us who we are. I heard someone say exposure brings expansion. And I
Hmm.
think what I was exposed to just expanded and broadened my horizons in the way I saw life. And there was always this perception where I wanted to help people. And a lot of that I realized just comes through my experience, through my exposures, through my upbringing, my backgrounds, my foundations, and the things that I've been able to learn. And what is learning for if we're not going to share it? It's just knowledge unless you exercise it and exercise it as wisdom. So that's what my life is about. I just want to give a little bit to everybody and hopefully help along the way. I think part of my life's mission is to give back a portion of that which was first given to me, and whatever I can partake of, I want to give it to somebody else.
Mm. Yeah, that's powerful, man. And as you're sharing that, and I'm kind of envisioning, that life. What would it be like? Because my life was contrary to that. Not, having two parents in the home. My mom raised myself, my two sisters, and she did a great job. We're all business owners, but I've had to rely so much on mentors
Yeah.
throughout my business career and just everything. I had to rely on mentors because there were so many voids, in my life. And when I look at what you were blessed with in terms of, your parents and sharing and instilling, and then looking at the finished product and how they passed that on, for our listeners, again, I'm always going to highlight the messages because we're not just doing this just to do this. We want you to be able to extract something from these podcasts. But all of you who are listeners and who are parents, you have to understand what it is that he's sharing, and how you, as a parent, you have an obligation, to your kids to pour into them, to whatever the degree or the depth that you're capable of pouring into them, because that's going to be duplicated. And if you're doing the right thing, you're going to continue to perpetuate empowerment and help and vision and all the things that Vernon's doing, just like his parents instilled into him. So, we all want to do the best that we can as parents, and regardless of the situation, but understanding how those outcomes can truly affect your kids in such a positive way. So that's incredible, man. But look, I want to switch gears real quick. I want to tell a quick story, and I want to switch gears and talk a little bit about your book, Faith Habits. Man, I got to tell you, and for those of you who may not know, as an author, Vernon released his book. I want to say it was toward the end of last year, and it's been much anticipated. A lot of people have been anticipating the book, but you know how it is. If you know anything about writing, you just have to do it when you're supposed to do it. You just can't force it. And when it came out, it was highly anticipated, and I was one of the people that was so excited about the book coming out, Faith Habits. And then when I did get it, I got it in my hands. As a matter of fact, I have it here on my desk, and I reference it a lot. But I utilized it a little bit differently than a lot of people. Even though I was ready to get the book and I was waiting on it, this is toward the end of last year, I decided that I wanted to wait before I read it, because it talks about 21 days of faith. It talks about what you want to do. And I wanted to wait to the beginning of the year for my own personal reasons. I'm not a big guy in terms of New Year's resolutions. I don't do New Year's resolutions because I resolve to do what I'm going to do every day, all the time. Anyway, so I don't get into the whole New Year's resolution deal. But what I do a lot is I press the reset button. I think I even had a podcast talking about resetting your life. I press the reset button on my life quite frequently because I want to take an evaluation of where I am and then look forward to where I need to be. Well, long story short, I wanted to wait to the beginning of the year and utilize this book in terms of the 21 days of faith, those habits that we need to develop in terms of our faith, and I couldn't wait. So day one came, January 1st came, and I got the book. And I wanted to not got the book, but I started reading the book, but I wanted to read a chapter per day, in addition to some other things that I wanted to do with my life in terms of working out or eating better or just changing some things or whatever it may be. I had a list of things, but I wanted this book to be the foundation of what I did for the first 21 days of this particular year. And I'm telling you guys, some of the things that I was doing, it was very difficult because it was out of my comfort zone, but then I would go back to the book. And I would go back to the book and I would take notes. If you could actually see through this book, I got highlights everywhere and notes everywhere. It has been the foundation for what I have done so far this year. It is very, very strong in terms of the vision. It has helped me immensely. And I would be remiss if I did not have the man himself, the author himself, just share with us from whatever capacity you would like, just what is faith habits and how is that derived from your mindset?
Man, so first and foremost, man, that's so humbling to hear and just encouraging, because, I think at the onset of just kind of birthing this book, that was the desire and the hope, is that people would dig in such a way that they would be able to reconstruct, their mindset over a course of 21 days. As we say, it takes roughly 21 days to begin to develop a habit. I think I've heard you even say it before, between 21 and 90 days to perfect a habit, and for something to really become second nature and become a part of you. And so the idea was, over the course of 21 days, let's perfect, let's develop, and let's, continue to work on your faith in terms of your personal relationship with God and your belief system. And for me, faith is probably one of the most difficult elements of life. It's easy to talk on, but it's not always easy to live, because faith is something that goes beyond the realm of what we can see. The Bible tells us that faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Not something that you particularly are able to always see and tangibly touch, but it's something that you believe. So it comes from a perspective and a mindset. And this particular book, crazy story. So what ended up happening was, back in the middle of 2020, my sister, my baby sister, so she's 12 years younger than me, and she recently got married at the onset of 2021, and she inherited a stepdaughter, and just amazing young lady. She just graduated from high school last year, and she's in college now. But during that time, she was going into her senior year of high school. And right at the course of, that huge transition of life, and we're in the middle of a pandemic, and she was diagnosed with leukemia. And so that was a major blow, to our entire family, everyone just, dealing with that, and just really just kind of trying to make sense of that all. And so this young lady started undergoing, all of these doctor's appointments and treatments, and it was just a lot. And you could see the weight of it when you talked to her, when you were around her. You could tell that, she was afraid, and there was just a lot going on. And so for me, I just wanted to encourage her in some type of way. And originally I reached out to her. I said, hey, I'm just, I sent her a video message, and I said, hey, I just kind of want to encourage you. I know that this is a tough time, but, really just want to ride with you through this process. And it was like in the middle of me talking, God just kind of gave me a formula. I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I said, for the next 21 days, I said, because I want to help develop your habit of faith. I said, for the next 21 days, I'm going to share with you an element of faith, through this platform. It was just videos. And, I just want that over the course of this 21 days is going to draw you closer to God. It's going to help develop your faith. And it's also going to give you hope in the midst of what feels like a hopeless situation. And so I did that, every day. I didn't miss a single day for 21 days, and sent her these videos. There would always be like a short real life testimony in there, maybe a scripture reference. And the videos were no longer than a minute, 2 minutes, but I did it every single day. Wow. And some days, didn't even get a response, because I knew where her head was, where her mind was, and what she was dealing with. But I sent them consistently over 21 days. And it wasn't until about 6 months after that, during January of 2021, I'm kind of like just spending time just shutting down and, getting the year started, trying to focus, trying to get my mind and my head wrapped around, what my vision was for the year. And it was like, and I wonder if them videos are still there, in the phone. So I go back and, I started looking at them, and it was like God just told me, like, I gave you a manuscript for a book, for a devotional. So I start, transcribing these every day. I do one a day for 21 days. And I look and up, there it is. I have a manuscript. And so, man, I got excited about it. I've always, desired to write a book. I've been working on many writing projects, but never ever crossed the finish line on anything. And, this was kind of divine, man. I knew that it was from God. He gave me the game plan, like it all came together. And so, went ahead, put all of the finishing touches, polished it up, and, released it to the world. So it was a blessing, not just to, the people that share all the time, how it's been life changing to them, but to me, man, just to really get that out there and cross the finish line, and to see how it's impacted people's lives, man, it's just been a blessing.
Man, that is incredible, and that story, man, is so touching. But it is who you are. You are a person who, genuinely out of love for people and family, do those type things. And I tell you, and I say it again, and anybody that know me know I just speak it as it is, keeping it real, as they say. But this book has really helped me a lot because, a lot of times I struggle with faith, and I don't mean from the obvious standpoint, but the, why can't it happen now standpoint,
Yeah.
and there is an actual chapter in the book. I'm going to encourage everybody to get the book, but there is a chapter that talks about struggling faith. And what would you advise for someone like myself who, have that struggling faith, if you will?
Well, I mean, the first thing is that, is admitting it, like, coming to that realization. And even as the author, I'm someone that, my faith ain't still tight. There are
Hmm.
many days where I struggle. And the beauty of even the friendship and fellowship that you and I have developed over the years, the brotherhood, is that I can be honest. Like, I have someone like you where I can say, man, I'm really struggling. You've been such a blessing and help to me, and just helping me stretch myself and, just expand my capacity as an individual, and even reminding me, like, hey, this is where faith comes into play. And that's the thing about it. Like, we're all going to have that struggling faith. Interestingly enough, I believe in that particular chapter or that day in the book for struggling faith, it talks about a gentleman that had struggling faith. And,
Hmm.
the essence of it was, he needed God to heal his son. He went to Jesus. He's like, hey, come and, my son is sick. He's dying. Can you come? And, he says to him, he goes, if you can do anything. Jesus goes, if I could do anything. He goes, it's not me, it's you. He goes, if
Right.
you could just believe. And he's like, I believe, but like, help my unbelief. And that's like
Hmm.
one of the most transparent and honest statements that anybody could ever make, because that's the dichotomy of faith. That's where we are. It's not that you don't believe, but it's like, man, there's always that threshold that you tap into where it's like, I believe, but like, man, there's this part of me that just doubts. And what I've come to realize is that is really the difference between like faith and trust. Like, you can have
Hmm.
faith in somebody and their ability and know that they have the ability to do something, but trust in someone is something totally different. And so that's the place that we have to get to, from not just, knowing that it's possible, but like really trusting and believing that, it's possible for us. And so
Right.
that's what struggling faith is. And we all have the ability to overcome it. And it comes by way of a track record. You go through enough things, and, God comes through for you, and you see the circumstances change through your diligence and faithfulness and perseverance. Like, man, that'll build your faith, and you'll learn, like, in the moments to come, like, man, okay, last time I felt like this, and then you're able to overcome it. And that's why the book was written the way that it was written. Every single day there's a journey that you go on. It's called a faith journey. And so you build up your faith through, that process. And then there are faith nuggets, which are just constant, like little reminders or targeted key points that you're taking from the faith journey. And then there's a faith challenge, which two challenge questions that you have to literally write. So you journal and you write out where you're struggling in those particular areas, and, the steps that you're going to take to overcome that and move on. And that's how you continue to build upon that habit of faith on a daily basis.
Yeah, that was one of the challenges for me, writing it out. Is like, because it forced me to think. In a lot of cases, it kind of forced me to, admit some things to myself that I previously would not have admitted. Just going through the workbook part, and just really diving deep into what this particular thing meant to me. There
Yeah.
was a part in it, a quote in it that I kind of have adopted myself. It talks about faith is literally the thing that fulfills our hope. From your perspective as the author, what does that mean?
Yeah, so I'm one that believes, based upon scripture, because the Bible says that faith is the substance of things hoped for. And so,
Hmm.
when you think about that, like, that's a deep statement. You could say that, but like, when you really think about it, it's literally saying that your hope, the substance that is derived from your hope, is actually faith, meaning that it's the ingredient that makes up what you hope for. And without hope, you can't have faith, and without faith, you can't have hope. There's another scripture that goes on to say that who hopes for what they already have? Like, you cannot hope for something that you already have. Like,
Right.
hope is the thing that motivates you to believe. And so when you start playing with that, it's like a three-stranded cord. You're talking about faith, hope, and belief. All of these things working together in conjunction is what really, really builds up like the essence of your faith. And so for me, man, just maintaining the level of hope, because it's easy for life to feel hopeless. When you look
Mm-hmm.
around at everything that we're enduring right now, the state of our economy, you're looking at just the health crisis in the country. You're looking at war. You're looking at crime. You're looking at injustice. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's so much that's attacking us all at the same time. And if you're not careful, it can really cause your heart to just feel like, man, what's the hope in it all? You know what I mean?
Right.
What's it all for? What can I look forward to? You really start to believe that life is just hopeless. And man, there's something that drives you on the inside to continue to believe in the face of adversity. And that's that fuel of faith. Like, faith is that thing that keeps you going. And so it really is just like the life strand of who we are as individuals. Like, if you can stand on faith, man, there's nothing that's impossible to you. Literally, that's what Jesus told the man. He says, if you can believe, there's nothing that's impossible to you. And it's the same with us. If we can continue to stand in faith, uh, man, we can accomplish our goals. We can overcome, trials and tragedies. It really is just a mindset perspective. When you set your mind on belief in the midst of what feels like, man, can this ever happen? And I know that to be so. Like, just with all of the things, I mean, I listen to you kind of go through my bio, and sometimes I have to pinch myself and say, like, man, I've been a part of all of that stuff. Cause I know me, I'm just, just this random, normal human being. It's not like I have all of this amazing talent, or, I'm just so smart. It's not that. I just know that some of those things, most of those things happen just because of my willingness to believe, like, that it can. I
Mm-hmm.
played in the NFL for 8 years. I did not get drafted. Like, I went undrafted. I was sixth string to, the 2002 San Diego Chargers roster. And all of that turns into an 8-year career. That only comes if you're willing to believe. I say it like this. Another book that I'm working on is called The Three P's to Success, which is success is intentional, struggle is inevitable, and then the last part is that faith is essential. And that
Mm.
faith goes two ways. It's faith in God, and it's also faith and belief in yourself. So faith is just a huge part of, man, who I am and what drives me.
Man, that is so powerful, brother. I tell you, look, I could listen to you forever, talking about the faith habits and how you actually created this book. But here's what I want to do. I want to be able, as we close out, I want to be able to expose everybody that's open to understanding, what faith habits are, why is it so important. As I mentioned, I use this as a roadmap for my entire year just to get things kicked off in the right manner. And interestingly enough, there are some things that I did not do before that have become I'll say a habit, but is a part of me now because I took the first 21 days out of the year to do those things. One being every single day giving gratitude,
Mm,
just being grateful for that day, dot, dot, dot,
yeah.
so that was one of the things that I've always been grateful, but never every single day I wake up, I had that level of gratitude that I
Yeah.
have now. That came from the book. That came from creating a habit, strengthening my faith, strengthening my belief, as Vernon talked about, not just in my creator, but in myself, knowing that, I'm speaking. I was talking to a friend recently, and he said, something to the effect of, sometimes when you speak, it sounds like you're fussing or you're mean. I'm not fussing and I'm not mean. What I am is absolute.
I
I'm
like that.
absolute. Yeah, it's like this is what it is. There is no, there's no gray area. There's no room to negotiate. And faith is one of those things. It's like this is just what it is.
Yeah.
And sometimes people take that being absolute for the wrong reason. But in my case, it is because I am developing and have developed strong faith habits. And that book has gone a long way to do that for me. And so, what I would like to do as we close out, Vernon, if you don't mind, if you could just share with the audience how we can maybe get the book and how we can continue to stay connected with you and your message, whether it's coaching or whatever it may be. So, how can we get this great book?
Yeah, so very simple. You go to my website, which is www.vernonfox.com. And as of right now, it'll take you directly to the landing page for the book. There you'll be able to see a short little clip of a message that I was speaking on the book. You'll also be able to purchase the book there. We got a couple other little products that are in conjunction and connection with the book. One in particular is a live 3-day course in which we went in. It's called Faith Habits Restore, where we actually did a 3-day online course recording where I went in and broke down 3 specific elements of faith: seeing faith, hearing faith, and living faith. And man, you can get that on there as well. And I'm also going to add a code. So for all the Deep Dive podcast listeners, if you put deep dive in the coupon section, it'll give you a small little discount there. But definitely you can go to vernonfox.com and purchase the book there. And man, we're sending them out. If you order from the website, you actually get a signed copy. So that's always been the case. Some people get them off of Amazon, but I say if you go to the website, you'll get a hand signed copy and that'll go to you. So don't forget the coupon code Deep Dive.
Okay, man, that's truly a blessing, man, and we certainly appreciate it. I know the audience is going to appreciate it. I can't stress to you guys enough how important this book is. You guys know I have a book as well, and here's the thing I want you to realize and understand about these books. My book, The Mindset of a Champion, it is what I call a luxury book, which means if you have great aspirations, these type things will help you in terms of fulfilling those luxury aspirations, being a millionaire, being a billionaire, those type things. But here's the thing. When you're talking about faith habits, this is not a luxury. This is a necessity. It is absolutely a necessity. This is something, if I only had a few dollars to buy a book, and I'm buying faith habits, because in order to get to luxury, you have to have those essentials as far as the foundation is concerned. There is no such thing as a mindset of a champion if you don't have faith, if you don't create proper habits, if you don't position yourself to duplicate the things that will make you successful and create that luxury lifestyle that we always talk about. So I'm going to encourage everybody to get the book. He's been so generous as to give you a discount through the coupon code Deep Dive. But that aside, guys, go get the book, vernonfox.com, get the book, and then share this book and this message of faith habits with everybody. Do the lessons, everything that you can associate yourself with the book. I think is going to be important because when we talk about building your foundation, and through these episodes over the last, year and a half, we've talked about building your capacity. We've talked about building yourself. We're talking about becoming bigger, stronger, faster. Well, in order to do that, you need that foundation. And for me, there's nothing better than faith habits. So certainly get your copy. Vernon, my man, I appreciate you more than you know. Before we get out of here, is there any final words, anything you want to share with the audience before we get out of here?
Man, I just want to first and foremost show my gratitude and appreciation to you. It goes beyond the time that we spend today, but all the time that we spend and just they say iron sharpens iron, and you've certainly been a piece of iron that has sharpened me and kind of helped me in my development. I'll go as far to say even with your book, like just helping me in terms of just reframing my mindset, because I realized that a lot of the battles that I have, are in my mind. And, in reading that book, because I'm one of those people that just has a high capacity to succeed, highly ambitious. And that's a tool that has helped me to really just kind of reframe the way that I think, and thinking like someone that's a winner, that expects to win at all times. All of the quotes in there and just a lot of the nuggets that, just build you up in a specific and intentional way. I mean, honestly, for me, I think those two books together, like if you can couple the mindset of a champion with faith habits and build your, I mean, like you next level. So, you know, I'm gonna go out and say, get both of them if you don't have it.
I receive that. Okay. Well, I tell you what, man, again, I can't thank you enough. I really appreciate it. I know the audience is super excited about getting an opportunity to interact with you through our social media platform. So thank you so very much for all of your wisdom. Thank you for what you're doing for everybody. I know a lot of times when you do the type things that you do, in a lot of instances, it can be thankless. But I do want you to know from me and from the audience, we thank you for everything that you're doing now. And we also congratulate you for all of the things that you have done in terms of setting the foundation for so many people. So thank you once again, my brother. For all of you listeners, thank you for joining us on this particular episode, New Growth of the Deep Dive Podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, download, and share. We're going to continue to spread this message. And this is an episode, this is a gold star episode. So we're going to put it on our preferred list. So let's go out and get it. Thanks again, Vernon. Thank you to all of you. And I'll see you on the beaches of the world. God bless.